Equality. Something that is presented to us almost every day. We see it on the news, we talk about it with our friends. We have our opinion about it, and in most cases, everyone agrees. Everyone should be equal. We have our minority groups protesting for equality. We have race protesting for equality. Skin colour, equality. Sexual preference, equality. But what is equality? Would you be surprised if equality is becoming a myth? In Canada, they passed a new law forcing gender theory acceptance. A transgender rights bill adds gender expression and gender identity to Canada's Human Rights Code and to the Criminal Code hate crime section. Critics warn that under this bill, Canadians who deny gender theory could be charged with hate crimes, fined, jailed, and compelled to undergo anti-bias training. Sound familiar? What's it called when you deny the Holocaust? Canadians can now be fined or jailed for using wrong gender pronouns. Canada passed a new law that opens Canadians up to fines and even jail time if they use gender pronouns that do not correspond to a person's subjectively determined gender identity. Subjectively determined gender identity. That means if a transgender person, if you refer to them by a pronoun that is not what they chose to be referred to as, you can go to jail. Here's the how-to guide for the transgender pronouns. I'm just going to change the actual sentence itself because these sentences are all based upon transgender, so I'm going to base it on something more general. For example, subject, blank, laughed at all my jokes. Blank, laughed at all my jokes. Now normally, as we understand it, that blank would either be he laughed at all my jokes, she laughed at all my jokes, they laughed at all my jokes. Well, with this new law, if a transgender chooses a different pronoun, then you must obey. So you might have to say, her laughed at my jokes. V laughed at all my jokes. Z laughed at all my jokes. Zai laughed at all my jokes. A laughed at all my jokes. They laughed at all my jokes. What the fuck? They tried to convince blank that my jokes weren't funny. They tried to convince blank that my jokes weren't funny. They tried to convince that my jokes weren't funny. They tried to convince M that my jokes were not funny. They tried to convince Per that my jokes were not funny. They tried to convince them, here, that my jokes weren't funny. What the fuck is this? Blank's favourite colour is unknown. Blank's favourite colour is unknown. Air favourite colour is unknown. This favourite colour is unknown. Zia favourite colour is unknown. What? Seriously, what the fuck is going on? These are words that have been made up by transgender people. They have literally made up these words and assigning them to themselves. So, that means if I'm transgender and I choose my word to be legendary of them all, if you don't address me as legendary of them all, you will go to jail. If you don't address these people as their chosen, subjectively chosen, which means they can individually choose their own word, if you don't address them by that word, you can go to jail. If you address a non-transgender person by an incorrect pronoun, you will not be fined, you will not go to jail. Equality. Have a look at this interview where a professor in a university in Canada is against this law. This professor refuses to use these words that are not in the English language And by doing so, this is what the transgender community say to him.
Because I don't agree with why Dr. Peterson has been asked to stop abusing students on campus.
To stop doing what?
Abusing students.
I see.
Nick, can I be clear on something? You've accused him of abusing students by not using the pronouns they want to be addressed by.
That's how I see it, absolutely.
That is tantamount to abuse in your view.
Absolutely. Many global documents, many
How
organizations.
about violence? Is it tantamount to violence?
Yes,
How about
absolutely.
hate speech? Is it tantamount to hate speech?
Yes, of course. It's hate speech
Fine,
to tell
that's-
someone that you won't refer to them as in a way that that recognizes their humanity and dignity.
And
It does not dictate what comes out of transgender people's mouths. This dictates what comes out of non-transgender people's mouths. Equality. By law, people in Canada now have to say words that aren't in the English language. Do you understand how fucked up that is? Words that can be made up by one person and given to a ledger that holds transgender pronouns, and then that word must be used by anyone who is asked to use it by law. Do you know how fucked up that is? Equality. It means nothing. Where I have to be careful with everything I say. I have to be careful with everything I do. I have to be careful with who I talk about. I have to be careful with what I talk about. I cannot pose a view on a member of the LGBTI community. I cannot tell anyone in the LGBTI community what is right and what is wrong. I cannot decide what I personally want to think in relation to the LGBTI. Equality. And if you think you've seen the list of all the different types of gender, you think you know how many genders there are, we'll have a look at this. It's only just getting started. It's fucked up.